Pleased to welcome Oren Zeev, a unique person, a unique speaker, because he's a one-man VC. I don't know anyone who is one-man VC. I know, yes, sure. He's an investor in companies like Houzz, which is a private company, but is valued at $5 billion now. It's a world-leading online platform for home remodeling. And Chegg, which is a company which went IPO and now is valued at market cap of $1 billion. And our moderator is Gennadiy Nissenbaum, who is head of Google for entrepreneurs at Google Ireland. Welcome.
Thank you. So it's a great pleasure for me to welcome Oren. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I will let you to introduce yourself because I think you're a very unique person. And I did some research before and talked to a few people in the audience about yourself. And everyone told me that you are very unique and very special. And when we had the quick chat before the conversation, you also told me some fascinating stories. So I hope we will reveal some of those stories and some of those secrets during the chat today. So maybe, Oren, you can tell a few words about yourself?
Well, I've been an investor for 22 or 23 years. The first 12 as an institutional investor as part of a global firm. In the past 10 years, I basically decided that I prefer to do it on my own. And I don't need a big firm. I don't need big offices. But I still behave as a VC. I don't behave as an angel. So I still invest millions of dollars per company. I still am typically the first outside board member or chairman of the company. I still play a very significant role, not just when I invest, but along the life of the company. And I guess that makes it a little bit unique because there are very few individuals that I can think of who play this role. I think that's maybe why people thought I...
Okay, thank you. When we start conversation about what you're doing and in terms of companies that you're interested in, you shared with me that you have few learnings that might be interesting for other investors and other companies. Are you feel comfortable to share some of those learnings with the audience?
Sure. So, obviously, this is a job that you learn all the time, and you never, ever stop learning because there are always new lessons to learn, and you always keep making, at least I always, but I think it's universally true, we always keep making mistakes because this is, there's a lot of uncertainty. Whatever you learned 5 or 10 years ago may actually not be true today because things change. So if you learned why you shouldn't invest in a company of a certain parameter 10 years ago, maybe you learned the wrong lesson because maybe now is the time to invest. So you have to be very, very open and very humble about not thinking that you know it all, or even that you know it most. And in fact, the more I do it and the more I have experience in it, the less I feel confident that I know what I'm doing. Specific learnings, I thought that, so I thought more, there are always specific things. I would say that as far as I'm concerned, when I invest, I really try to invest in companies that, well, first of all, I try to invest with people or back people that I would have fun. It's a long ride. It's hard to get a divorce. So I try to invest behind people who I actually like as friends. Some of them were friends before I invested. Some of them became friends after I invested. So that's rule number one. It's going to be a long journey. Might as well enjoy it. Might as well do it with people that you enjoy. The other thing which I try to really strive for is try to invest in companies that really have a chance to rewrite the rules of their respective industry. My first home run, big home run, was Audible, which I'm sure many people here use. It's an amazing company, and it really reinvented a market. Before Audible, people were using audio cassettes and to listen to audiobooks, and Audible made it digital and really defined the market and became a 100% market share player. And that was one example, and Chegg was another, and Houzz is another. These are companies that are not doing stuff trying to be similar to other companies. None of these companies and other companies that I'm on the board of looked at other companies to try to imitate them. And I think that one of the lessons, the reason why it's so, I find so much more rewarding to invest in a company that does something new, really new, as opposed to something that you have 5, 6, 8, 10 competitors. I also find it more rewarding emotionally, but I also find it more rewarding financially where it works. And almost by definition, and this is the one thing that may be counterintuitive, and certainly it was to me when I started. When I started, I was more interested in which market is hot, which market is not hot. Today, not only is the market being hot not a factor for me, if anything, it's a negative factor. Because I think that if you invest in a hot market, the chances that the startup that you back will really come out as the dominant player is very, very low. Sorry about that. I'm recovering from a cold, so I wasn't even sure I was going to make it today. So in the examples that I just mentioned, audiobooks was not hot when I invested in Audible, and home design was not hot when I backed Houzz, and education or textbooks was not hot when I backed Chegg. And by the way, all these companies, I wasn't an investor in. I was the main backer, the main of these companies. So I think it's easier to reinvent an industry when you're doing something that's not obvious to others. So I'm probably less inclined to chase self-driving, autonomous vehicles today or some other things that because everyone is chasing them. And I think it's much easier to succeed when you have some, when you have 2 or 3 years to build things quietly without huge pressure from competition. After 2 or 3 years, it's okay that the market becomes hot, because by then you have created, you have created some assets. But when you start, you have no assets.
Yep.
So, yeah.
You already mentioned a few things.
Sorry. Sorry about that.
You already mentioned a few things. What really gets you engaged, and what will be triggering factor for you to decide to back the company.
Yeah.
But many of this audience is not coming from Silicon Valley. How many of you is coming from Europe? Okay, few of you.
Yeah.
And then the unique factor that we can think about. Many people in Silicon Valley, they graduated from Stanford, they have good network. What would be your advice for people who are coming from outside of Silicon Valley, don't have this network, don't have Stanford MBA? How they can convince investors to get support?
So I would say that, first of all, don't think that if someone did go to Stanford, that means that they can raise money easily either. It's always difficult, and it should be difficult, because it should be a high bar. It shouldn't be too easy. I think that most investors, including myself, most venture capitalists, most investors who invest more than a very small amount, typically want to either back a proven founder or founding team, or to see some proof points in the business. For most investors, including myself, it's very, very difficult to write a significant check to an unproven idea, even if it sounds good, pitched by an unproven management team. And by the way, going to Stanford doesn't make you a proven, entrepreneur. So I would say if you're an outsider, then, and you want to start a company now, by the way, you're an outsider, you don't have to start a company. You can also, take a few years. This town, actually, this area is an area that is really easy to become an insider, even if you are an outsider. It only takes a few years. So you can go, so first of all, you don't have to start a company. You can go and start and work for the right companies, and within a few years, you'll have, you'll be plugged in, because frankly, even almost no one was born here, right? Even the most insiders here, they came here 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Almost no one was born here. So first of all, you don't have to start a company. But if you start a company, I would say that you're probably more likely to raise money based on some proof points from the business. So try to build a business, and I'll give you an example. And I know it's much easier said than done. Because often there is chicken and egg, how can I make progress? But the fact is, in some businesses, you actually can make a lot of progress and really show that you have built something that the market needs with very little cash, if any. So my advice would be to bootstrap it and to show actual results. And then you will be judged not by what school you went to and whether or not you came from Europe or from Stanford or from Texas, but based on what you've achieved with the business. So the example I want to use is Houzz. When I backed Houzz, I was the first backer. I gave them the first $2 million to start the business, basically. When I met them, they were still working for other companies. And they were working, it's a married couple, so they were working on it in their house after hours, after they put the kids to sleep. Just a minute. Zero resources, and yet, when I met them, it was about 10 months after they started working on it as a hobby. And they had a beautiful website, not an app yet, but they had a beautiful website. They had a few thousand professionals who uploaded the content. And they had a couple of 100,000 unique visitors, which is mind-boggling compared to, and by the way, speaking of Google, because I know you are from Google, they ranked for pretty generic terms, like bathroom design. They ranked at the bottom of the first page. Today, of course, they would rank, number one on all these words. But the fact that they made it to the bottom of the first page, or maybe the top of the second page, when it was just nothing, company not incorporated yet, to me, it was mind-boggling. So I didn't judge them based on if they're well-connected, and they were not well-connected with VCs at all. I didn't judge them based on whether they're connected or not, whether they came here or were born here or came here. No, I judged them based on the years' worth of data that I had from the business that they built with zero resources. And my thinking was, wow, if they did all this with zero resources, yes, I wonder what they can do with a little bit of resources. So that's an example. It's possible. Not always, not easy, and it's never easy. And it shouldn't be easy. So, but I think that's the answer.
Thank you.
Oh, one of the answers.
Your portfolio is definitely doing phenomenally well.
Thank you.
I can recall only a few one-man investors or any venture funds that are doing that well as yourself.
Thank you.
What are you giving back to your investment portfolio companies? What is the secret sauce? So what, apart from the money, companies in your portfolio can expect from you?
So first of all, I think they can expect unconditional love. And I think that's quite a lot. And when I say unconditional love, I really mean it, because I would rather us losing money and the founder still loves me than the other way around. Then we make money and he hates me, or she hates me. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I really, really see myself as working for them and not the other way around. And again, when I was young in my career, I've been doing it for 23 years, the first 3 years I thought that I'm the board member, I'm the investor, I'm the owner, the CEO works for me, and he should report to me every quarter, every month, every week, whatever, and I should opine how well he's doing it. And I totally reversed my thinking. Today, I think that the entrepreneur gave me a privilege to back him or her, and I work for them, and I'm a resource, and whatever they need me to do, I'll do. And if they want me, if they want to meet me every day or every week, fine. If they don't want to meet me at all, that's fine too, because they're the boss. So, almost done. Now, in practical matters, and I guess this is the last question, if you want to make the time, then I would say hiring. I help them find candidates through my network, through and also close people and convince people. The best people are very difficult to convince. So the fact that I can come and and share from my experience why am I such a believer in this business helps. Hiring, future financings, some big strategic questions, but less so the day-to-day. I'm not going to help them in engineering. I'm not going to help them in product decisions. If they need my advice on product, I back the wrong team.
So you'll remember how to program if needed?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please welcome into
Gennadiy.
Oren. Thank you for.